The only way I know how to present this is from the heart. You know, the thing about Charter School USA, it reminds me of a great American muscle car, an L-88 Corvette, 1982 L-88 Corvette, the aluminum head engine Corvette that pulled about, 520 horsepower and that could get off the line 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds. It was that full-throated, all-American, pedal to the metal, no excuses, torque like you couldn't believe. That's the kind of organization that you're part of. It is precisely what our most disadvantaged children deserve. You know, the Florida State Constitution, my partner Mark Rodberg always reminds me, that it says explicitly that every child in Florida is entitled to a quality education, not an education, not just curriculum, not just pablum served up for those who are capable enough to go ahead and eat at the table of education, but precisely for those children who are least capable, families who are least advantaged, people who are not equipped, as most of us in this room are, to take advantage of this wonderful thing we call public education in America. What has been needed for a very long time is a shot of adrenaline in the traditional American public education system. Charter schools and choice schools were designed precisely to that end, to work in adjunct with the traditional public school system, to work as a fuel injection into that engine that was sputtering and stalling. We're not a Toyota. We're a Corvette. We expect the very best. We expect speed and efficiency and real guts. You know, John sent me a couple photos. He was on vacation, believe it or not. He took a couple weeks off. Hard to believe, I know. But in typical John fashion, he's on a 450cc engine motorbike at the top of the Continental Divide, right? All you can see is the broad horizon and the Great Rockies in the background. This is rough riding. This takes real grit, real guts to do this. His organization reflects precisely his attitude and outlook about life in general. Bring it on. Bring on the biggest challenge. That's why I laugh when I read in news accounts of the fact that Charter Schools USA picks the cream of the crop, that they only go into areas that have already had success. They park their schools across from other A schools. What a bunch of nonsense. What utter bunk. Look, I traveled out to Chicago with John to that school you were looking at on the film. You're talking about the roughest grade Chicago school. My friend Rahm Emanuel, and I don't mean to besmirch you with that, John, I know you, he's of the other persuasion. But Ron said, I don't believe this guy's taking this place on. And I said, well, he's built for it. This is just the kind of challenge, exactly the kind of situation that he was built for. And sure enough, in a matter of a couple of short years, the entire culture, now they're only talking about a school, I'm talking about the entire neighborhood is being transformed. Education and schools aren't necessarily about curriculum and academic achievement alone. What they are about is they're the heartbeat of a neighborhood. Property values are enhanced when you have a great school. People are more of a community when they can put their arms around a school. That's the environment that you all are creating in each and every one of your schools. I can see it in the pride you take when I hear the names of your schools mentioned, and you're on your feet clapping. You have taken ownership of those environments. What you create is an infectious environment for success on every level. Now, how are we as a nation still arguing about the efficacy of charter schools. I don't understand it. Unfortunately, though, my left brain does understand it. Because what we're talking about are adult issues that have nothing to do with the success of children, parents, and neighborhoods. Here, I'm going to commit the unholy of unholies, and I'm sure I'm going to hear about it in D.C. But what we're talking about is issues having to do with the teachers' union. That's what we're talking about. Now, there's no greater promoter of unions than Frank Biden. I think they're a wonderful part of the American institutional framework. It enabled the middle class to advance. But here I see one of my holy of holies standing in the way, obstructing what is clearly a benefit to the vast majority of the most least privileged of our electorate. Babies born in poverty, people consigned to a geography that limits them to a school that has failed over and over and over and over again. That is not American. That is anti-union. It's what my grandparents fought against. So there is no division between the need for a strong union and great charter schools. This is a false argument. It's the ultimate red herring. Now, all these words are ascribed to me. I'm not speaking for anyone but Frank Biden. I'm not speaking for John. I'm not speaking for other charter school operators. No one. But you know what? I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines and not calling a spade a spade. I've reached out my hand to the unions and to the districts and to all those people who give us lip service and a pat on the back and say, great job out there, and then turn around and talk to the press or someone else and say, you know what, those damn dirty guys, they're all profiteers and they're all about lining their own pockets. Well, you can't have it both ways. Those days are over. Everyone's taking their pot shot at me, and that's great. Bring it on. But the fact of the matter is, the data is in, charter schools, we don't even have to say they outperform traditional public schools. In many instances, they do. But they perform exceedingly well, and they're part of the fabric of public education. There are no way an anathema to it. You, as educators, can take great pride in the fact that you have become the innovators. You are the entrepreneurs of American education that on a daily basis can go in and be creative and implement change in the most fundamental way to those little minds and hearts. My God, I envy you. I'm so proud of you. I have no reason to be able to take pride in you, but I do in any case. I know our teachers at Mavericks dealing with the most difficult children coming from very difficult circumstances. I take the same kind of pride in them. You know, this is not work for the faint at heart. Many of you will look in the mirror 3 months from now and put your head down when you're brushing your teeth and go, I don't know whether I can do this another day. I know I've woken up in Tallahassee and called Ralph on the phone and said, Ralph, we got to get to Mass early because I don't think I can take this another day. And you're going to have to say to yourself what my dad told me so many years ago. My hero, my dad. He said, Frank, the measure of a man is not how many times he gets knocked down, but how quickly he gets up. You're going to have to bring yourself up off the mat every now and then. And you're going to have to look to your left and look to your right, and you're going to have to say these other words that I find so difficult to say on a daily basis. I need help. I need help. I got to look to Rodberg over here on a regular basis and to Lauren on a regular basis and say, I need help. I'm not all that. Well, that's pretty obvious in my case, but I know another guy who's my hero, my big brother. And he tells me regularly that when he hits his knees at night, he says those very same words. I need help, please. Let your will be done, not mine. God knows I could screw up a knitting circle. Huh? But in this instance, in this endeavor, with this issue, you are the noble soldiers. You are in the vanguard. This is the civil rights issue of the 21st century. That child sitting over there in Riviera Beach, who's consigned to the worst school he or she can imagine going to, who doesn't have a choice of what school he or she will go to, whose parents are backs up against the wall, and I'm just choosing Riviera Beach because we know it's a rough area. Pick 20 areas that are all screaming for help. And yet we say, the powers that be say, no, maybe not. We have to take this slowly. Somehow, some way, we know, we can't put our finger on it, but we know choice schools are somehow draining the traditional public school system. Nonsense. Lies. We have to overcome those objections, and they'll continue fast and furious. You'll read something in the paper tomorrow that'll be misconstrued, that somehow I'm trashing the traditional public school system. I am not. I'm its biggest proponent. We should work hand in hand, hand in glove. God bless Chuck Shaw for having the nerve to come here. But just like Sherry said to John those years ago, John, we got to kick it up a notch. We're not giving it everything we can. We need to work harder. We need to dig deeper. We need to recommit. Just like that, I pledge my recommitment to this central issue of our time, the education of our babies, the peace of mind of our parents, and the rebuilding of community through our public school system. Now, we need the funding to do that. We need the political will to get on the street and get to the ballot box and make sure it happens. We have to identify those people who are our enemies, and I don't make any bones about it. It's black and white. You're either with us or you're against us. Again, Frank's view. I'm a bit of a didactic Irish Catholic. You know, my religion doesn't fool around in many shades of gray. You know, I only say that half-kiddingly. Ralph will have to have a little theological conversation after here. But what I'm asking you to do is to rise to the privilege of the position that you've been put in. To understand at the most fundamental level that your parents, the God of your understanding, and the people around you are so very proud of the choice you've made to become a teacher, to become what quite possibly is the most influential human for these little humans that they'll ever meet. And to thank you in advance for your dedication, for your passion, for your commitment. And yes, as Sherry said, I was so pleased to hear her say it. It brought tears in my eyes. Because this is about love. The deepest of emotions. What that soldier had for his comrades. The kiss he gave on the cheek. And if I could, I'd put my arms around all of you and hug you and tell you and thank you for being who you are, because you have found your purpose. Don't look any further. It's right there in front of you. And I pledge to you in any way, shape, or form that we can assist you in your most noble of efforts, we will. Thank you so much.